O'Reilly.
Are your wiper blades chattering, skipping, or squeaking? Don't let streaks or smearing on your windshield compromise your visibility. When it's time to replace your wiper blades, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and see our selection. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades while you wait. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's me, Ben O'Brien. It's episode 83, coming to you from Bozeman, Montana. We're sitting here in like 10 inches of snow, a foot of snow, Phil. What are we doing?
Yep. The snow came in last night. It has been very windy and cold.
Yeah.
You could feel, I think there was like a 40 degree
Drop.
And that was just between the highs of the day. If you
Yeah.
go from the high to the low, it was like near 60. It's like a 60 degree drop.
We should be out hunting, man.
It was nuts.
We should be out hunting. Anyway, but we're not. We're podcasting. And so today it's a good show. We're going to start by recapping the reaction to episode 82 with Barry K. Gilbert, the contentious interview. We're talk through some of your questions and some of the things you guys wanted to know and pretty much end the catharsis on episode 82 here today and move on with our lives. And then we're going to do our first ever Not So Sharp moment. It's a pretty good one. It's about a truck getting stuck and then another truck getting stuck and yet another truck getting stuck for that first truck. So you're going to like that. And then we're going to have our first ever, what I'm calling Whiskey and Ethics portion of the show. And that's where we drink the brand new Meat Eater Bourbon Whiskey. And we talk about something ethically, some ethical connotation, some kind of ethical situation. And this one's going to be Grip and Grins. You guys all know I feel strongly about those. So we're going to drink a little whiskey. We're going to get real deep on Grip and Grins. So look forward to that. But before we get to any of that stuff, we're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. And it's called the Back 40. We bought a property in Michigan, if you haven't already heard, and we're doing a show about it. So if you go to the Meat Eater YouTube channel, you're going to find the episodes. We've already launched episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 is coming next Monday. And then every 2 weeks after that, until the end of the year, you'll have another episode in your YouTube feed. So go there, watch it, the Meat Eater YouTube channel. You can also go to themeateater.com/back40 and check it out. There's a lot of stuff there. You're chronicling our boy Mark Kenyon's journey on this 64-acre Michigan property. I've been there a couple of times, going to go there again. I'm working hard on the show with Mark to make it the best it can be, and we would very much appreciate it if you watched it. So go and check it out on the YouTubes or on themeateater.com. The only other thing to talk about today is the First Light Catalyst soft shell system. We're going to be wearing this in the tree stand. Mark and I have a rut hunt on the Back 40 coming up. We're going to be wearing this in the tree stand. It really is one of the best soft shell pants you're going to wear, one of the best soft shell systems. They're silent, breathable, insulating. They will stretch and move with you. It's perfect for sitting in a tree stand. Again, the biggest thing there is silent. It's got an interior 37.5 fleece lining that works to optimize your body temperature, while that brushed, durable exterior is ultra silent, and it fends off moisture while you're sitting up in the tree. So go to firstlight.com, check out the Catalyst soft shell system, and let me know what you think. All right. That's it. That's all the things. Now, on to the show. Episode 83. Let's go.
I guess I grew up on an older road. A pedal to the metal, always did what I was told. Until I found out that my brand new clothes came secondhand from the rich kids next door. When I grew up fast, I guess I grew up mean. There's 1,000 things inside my head I wish I ain't seen. And now I just wander through a real bad dream, or feeling like I'm coming apart at the seams. But thank you, Jack Daniels. Oh, number 7.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. We're here. Another episode of The Hunting Collective. This one's 83. I'm here with Phil. Hey, Phil.
How's it going?
Guys, I got a big announcement.
Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't tell you about this, Phil.
Okay.
It's a big announcement. Phil is growing a mustache.
That's true.
It's right now, I would say, how many days have you been growing this mustache, Phil?
I got a couple, I think it's been about 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's not great. It doesn't look great.
Yes.
I'm doing it for a Halloween.
It looks like you might have
Costume.
fallen in some dirt.
Yes, it's a much blonder than the hair on my head.
Yeah. Are you willing to give up your Halloween costume that you're growing this mustache for?
Yeah, I'll give away part of it. Myself and Seth Morris,
Yep.
the Flip Flop Flesher, as he is
Signs
known.
West, yes.
Signs West on Instagram. We are doing Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp.
And he already has a mustache.
He does.
Well
So I'm doing
established
all
one.
the work for this.
Yeah.
But
Are
then,
you nervous that you won't be able to match up to his mustache?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You should be.
Because he was out hunting. He was out shooting some meat eater television programming this past week, and he got back and he didn't even notice it on my face yesterday.
It does look just like a shadow.
This thing's been coming in for 2 weeks now, and one of our producers was like, "Hey Seth, did you see Phil's mustache?" He's like, "What?" And he had to come walk closer to me and be like, "Oh yeah, there it is." But yeah, there's also going to be a little twist with the Halloween costume that we're saving.
All right.
It's a surprise.
Do you know any good mustache nicknames? Like the kind of mustache...
You mean a nickname for the actual mustache?
Yeah, not like Larry the Mustache, like what people call mustaches.
No, I don't. Do you? Well, I mean, I've heard of some. Yes.
There's some good ones here.
Yeah.
There's some really good ones I probably can't say.
Yes.
The one I like the most is Mr. Tickles.
Uh huh.
Whiskers, of course. Bristle Batons. Crumb Catcher. Lip Shadow. Grass Grin. Cookie Duster. Nose Neighbor. Soup Strainer.
I like Nose Neighbor.
Flavor Saver.
Makes it seem like a friend.
I'm going to go with Mr. Tickles to your mustache.
Okay.
If anybody wants to write into thc@themeateater.com to help us name Phil's mustache, as we've accurately described, it's kind of like it's not fully developed.
So
Certainly.
I'm trying to display it to the least amount of people possible before Halloween. So you're not going to see it.
I'm going to ruin that.
Damn it.
Because I'll get a picture of it. God. So anyway, write in to thc@themeateater.com, name Phil's mustache. And if you do something really good, I'll give you something really cool. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it'll be something cool. So don't worry.
After I shave it, you'll send the hairs
Yes.
loosely in an envelope.
It will be a tiny envelope because there won't be much in there.
Nope.
All right, we got to move on. But as much as I'd like to just think of names for your mustache, we got business.
We got stuff to get to.
We got business to take care of. Now we're coming off the heels. This has to be a lighthearted. Has to be, and there has to be whiskey involved because we're going to do our first together whiskey and ethics here at the Hunting Collective. Well, we need to drink whiskey because we had a very tough couple of days here. I don't want to say we were basking in the glow of episode 82. We were more standing in its shadow, I feel. But a lot of you, I will say more of you than I thought, enjoyed the conversation and thought it was well handled. So thank you for that. I think that was probably the overwhelming sentiment. But there were a few things that people did not agree with, which I guess is my way to address. But where's your head at, Phil, with the Barry K. Gilbert episode of the Hunting Collective?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to be able to take a few steps back from it after I mixed it and sent it out to you I wiped my hands clean. But you're the one who's been getting all the emails and the DMs. So
A lot of them.
So yeah, I have not seen any of the reaction besides the Instagram comments and stuff like that. But
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that went on there. I think one of the major ones is that when Barry and I were talking, Barry generalized hunters as all being, say, anti-predator, not wanting to share the ungulates that they eat with predators like grizzly bears and wolves and things like that. Now, we all know that's wrong. Like, it's hard to generalize any group. Hunters are not a monolith. You cannot say all hunters think this. Hunters do this. I mean, there certainly are cases and evidence of hunters shooting predators for fun, or shooting predators in a contest, or wanting to shoot predators to save the deer. There are examples of that too. There's also examples of campers who litter and DJs who play music too loud. That doesn't mean all DJs play their music too loud and all campers litter. And so something that a couple of people had criticized me for was coming back with, hey, all the hunters that I know don't feel that way about predators. And I'll just say, it's true. I don't know any hunters that are anti-predator because they want more deer around. Most of the hunters I hang around with, if not all of them, believe in balancing an ecosystem, believe in carrying capacity, and believe in healthy populations of all wildlife. So that's where I'm at. And so in the conversation, I said that. I said, listen, I don't know any hunters who are anti-predator. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, there's clearly hunters out there that want to kill predators and would like to see some predators wiped out of certain ecosystems. Yeah, sure. I'm sure that the truth is somewhere in the middle ground, but the type of hunters that I'm around and that I talk to and that I want to highlight are not those types. It's the type of hunters who are looking for balance. So my point in that podcast was very much to combat kind of what I thought was a pretty gross generalization from Barry Gilbert. So that's where that came from. But I think there just was a lot. And so we had a couple people online, so like, just go to the Arizona Hunting Facebook page and post a picture of a coyote. You don't even need to say anything. Just sit back and watch the hate flow in. So things like that. Those were examples of people saying that I was wrong to kind of push back with my own generalization. So that's fine. That's probably a pretty decent critique, but I would say, Phil, in the situation we were in, getting a little defensive is probably just natural.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because he definitely was generalizing all hunters, even though he denied it. When you were like, well, I don't think all hunters do that. He was like, well, I didn't say all hunters. And then I think I remember him asking you, like, or kind of confronting you, like, well, you would say most hunters, right? And you were like, no, I wouldn't.
No.
I would not say most hunters.
No, I would not.
And I think everyone could agree with that.
Yeah,
most hunters do not want.
Yes, most hunters do not want to kill all coyotes. Most do not. There's some out there that see a picture of a coyote and just want it to be dead and don't think twice about it. But that's not most hunters. Like, I assume that most bear advocates don't blindly dismiss any other opinions. I would hope that they do not. So somewhere in the middle is the truth, almost always. And I'm sure in this case, that's what this was. But like I say, most everybody was very positive, and I appreciate that. A lot of people asked, would I have Barry Gilbert on again? What do you think, Phil? I was like, that's a hard one to answer.
I would say no.
Yeah, I would go with no. People had asked me, I was like, man, I just can't say that
he was
I would.
pretty unflinching. I don't think another conversation would lead to anything productive.
Yeah, and what I would say about Barry is that obviously he's credentialed. I mean, he's a tenured professor at Utah State University. He's written books. He's given talks. I mean, he's a credentialed, what I would call, I guess, an intellectual. But as Phil said, he seemed pretty hardened to his points of view. So, I mean, it's not that I'm going to move him in one direction or the other. I think he's pretty dead set on what he believes. And the other point that a few folks brought up was that maybe he didn't understand what a podcast was. He thought he was just going to come in here and I was going to ask him some pad questions about his book and he was going to tell his story and
give him a hat.
Yeah, give him a hat. That's the other thing, Phil. Why didn't we give him a hat?
We should have just given him a damn hat.
I had a hat out there. Could have given him.
Yeah.
I just didn't give him a hat. I feel bad. Yeah. Now. A lot of people wanted me to give him a hat.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll find his address. I got his address out there. I'll send him a hat.
Put a Post-it note on it. Here you go.
Here's your hat. Here's your hat, man. So anyway, we're going to move on from that. A little bit of catharsis that was needed. But thanks for everybody writing in. I did spend most of my day this week, like Tuesday and Wednesday after we launched that podcast, talking to you guys about it. So it's important to me to kind of have those dialogues, and when something like this like impacts as many people as it seems to have impacted, it's important to continue to talk about it, because I think this was less about bears and wildlife management and more just about how to talk to a person you don't agree with. Yeah, I think that's probably what I would take more away from this, and just knowing that, you know, be nice to everyone. Like, just be if you have to concede some points, it's okay sometimes to say, like, yeah, you could be right about that, but what about this? And that's the way to move a conversation forward, not to be so hardened in your beliefs and so attached to your worldview that you can't move. And then anytime anyone asks you to move, you get angry and push back.
Well, that's the biggest thing, because I could see truly believing in something after years of research and gathering facts and coming to a conclusion. But it's the fact that he got so angry about what you were saying. I could see you having a debate and him just saying, like, okay, well, I disagree, and honestly, nothing you say is going to move me in any way, but thank you for presenting the points.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you. That's the biggest thing.
Right? I hear you, and
he was not hearing.
Like, I've heard that before, and I just have never valued that. But he was not hearing, and I just don't know. It was a great example of productive, two humans having a productive conversation, like a productive interaction. And so it was more about that to me than understanding that you get in these situations, man, you just have to, and hopefully all you listening can take it back. I had two counselors and one crisis negotiator write in and say that I would be a good counselor in another life. So
you got something to fall back on.
Thanks for those. Thanks for those folks that wrote in and said that. Yeah, you think I'd be a good counselor, Phil?
Yeah. Can I start coming to you? Are you gonna have office hours, and I can just start dropping by?
Like, I'm very distressed about my mustache. Like, yeah, you should be.
Like, it's been 2 weeks, and it doesn't look great.
Yeah, so you should probly just don't go out in public until it fully grows in.
No, thanks.
It matures.
It's great advice.
Yeah, no, as a counselor,
doc.
Yeah. So anyway, I hate to pat my own back because that's not what it's about at all. But it's a cool exercise to put out a conversation like that and to see kind of what it stirs up in people. Because I think some of it stirs up like what's really the conversation of wildlife management and carrying capacity. Like how do we have a productive version of that? And the other people's like, how do we talk to somebody that is emotionally connected to what they believe and really can't see it? Because that can happen when you get together with your family on a weekend and have dinner. That can happen with a coworker. That can happen really anywhere. And so it's an important, I don't know if it's stable, it's an important skill to have, to be able to kind of navigate those things, because in our world, there's a lot of those things, I would say. So you feel like that's good, Phil?
Yeah. It's a good,
you feeling
that's
better?
a good bow to put on it.
All right. We're putting a bow on it. We're leaving that behind. Certainly, if you didn't listen, go back and listen to episode 82. If you got this far without knowing the context of what we were talking about, I apologize. But go back, episode 82 with Dr. Barry Gilbert about bears. Now, introducing the first ever not so sharp moment. Phil, play the jingle.
Work sharp, not so sharp moments. Sharp so you don't have to be.
Wow. That's the jingle gets in your head.
It does.
Gets in your bloodstream.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like injecting heroin, that thing.
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil. For people are gonna be sitting at their keyboards typing in an email. Work. Moment. Yeah.
We'll see how they're feeling after 10 weeks. We get it.
We know. Okay. So to recap, we've been asking you last couple of weeks here, prior to episode 82, about your not so sharp moments, and your not so sharp moments are presented by WorkSharp. Thank you, WorkSharp. If you want to go to worksharp.com and check out their wonderful products, you can do that. You need a sharp knife, God damn it. Just do. Always. No matter where you are. If you had a sharp knife, you could shave off Phil's mustache in like 2 strokes.
I think 3.
Three.
3.
All right, I'll give it to you, Phil.
Thank you.
3 strokes.
Appreciate it.
So we're gonna give you the first ever not so sharp moment, and it comes from Elliot Bowling. Now Elliot is gonna get a work sharp field sharpener.
Congratulations.
Woo! You did it. You never thought that this idiotic moment would lead to anything, would lead to any benefit at all,
Yeah.
but it did.
If
really
you could
did.
go back in time and tell yourself,
Yeah,
while this was occurring,
I'm gonna win a field sharpener,
this is going to get you a work sharp field sharpener someday.
and some guy on a podcast is gonna read my email.
Hey.
But anyway, thanks to everybody that wrote in. We got a bunch more slots coming up for not so sharp moments to read in podcasts. So if you haven't sent in, please do. We got a bunch more of these field sharpeners to give out, a bunch more stories to tell. But right now, we got to tell you Elliot's story. So Phil, stop me if you have any questions, because this is it's a doozy.
Yes. Okay.
And then I'm going to ask that in post you put in lots of awesome sound effects.
Depending on how much time I have, I will put in
Phil,
some sound effects.
you got plenty of time.
Yeah, you're right.
What else are you working on?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
This is it's just your show.
People don't really know that.
There aren't any other podcasts in the Meteor Podcast Network.
No,
Nope.
and we get paid like a lot per show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like it's unbelievable amount of money.
It's crazy.
And so we just focus just on this kind of silliness. All right, here we go. This is from Elliot. All right, let's take a moment to set the stage. So, a few years back, my guys and I were freelance waterfowl hunting in Saskatchewan. Anyone who has done this knows it involves a ton of driving to scout for birds. A couple of days into this particular trip, our rental truck had some transmission issues. Luckily, the rental company brought us a new truck, and we only lost about a half a day of hunting and scouting. But during this truck swap, we put most of our gear back inside the house where we were staying. Boots, coats, waders, gloves, etc. This turned into a major mistake, as we resumed our scouting with the new truck that afternoon. And our excitement hit the road, we basically left the house in leisure wear. Jeans, hoodies, sneakers.
It's mistake number 1.
Mistake number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Just picture these gentlemen all in leisure wear.
Yep.
I don't know what kind of I'm just thinking like acid boss jeans.
I'm thinking a smoking jacket.
Yeah, smoking jacket. Acid boss jeans, New Balance sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe like hoodies with the sleeves cut off even maybe.
Oh,
something like that.
I mean, these guys look...
They're in Canada.
They seem like they're looking great.
They're in Canada, maybe a hockey jersey. You don't know. Nobody knows. But they're looking good. About an hour into the scouting, in the middle of nowhere, we came across a dirt road that was extremely muddy and eventually had water across the entire road for about 50 yards. Of course, we decided to blast through it. That's mistake number 2. Within seconds, we were pulled off the road into a fairly deep ditch, as stuck as I've ever been in my entire life. Wow. That's getting dramatic.
Yep.
Will they live?
Well, at least one person will. I think Elliot will, because he
could be the only one that makes it out alive at this point.
Uh-huh.
Maybe Elliot is like the son of one of these guys.
Oh,
You never
man.
know. Maybe there's a twist.
Yeah.
Could be. So let me set the stage for the conclusion of this story. It's October, Saskatchewan. Temperature probably 30 degrees. Spitting snow. 3 in the afternoon with about 3 hours of light left at most. Truck stuck in the middle of nowhere. 3 dudes dressed like idiots. He said that. I didn't say that. No cell signal and really no one to call if we could. We start walking. About an hour into the walking, we come across 2 young Canadian fellas who are off to school they're out of school for the day. So they're deer hunting. They admit to us right away that they don't have their driver's license, but they were super eager to pull us out. I think this was the most exciting thing that ever happened to them. They live in the middle of nowhere.
It's Saskatchewan.
There's nothing going on. They're like, holy shit, Dad, you won't. So we took them up on their generous offer. We get back to our stuck truck, hook up the chain, and give it a go. Within 10 seconds, they get stuck too.
Oh no.
Yep. But no worries. They have a friend with a big lifted truck who will get us out. That friend. After 45 minutes, he arrives. And now it's now dark. and within minutes, his truck is absolutely buried.
Okay. So far,
To recap.
how many vehicles do we have in this ditch?
Three trucks stuck
Okay.
in the same spot.
That's quite the collection.
But that's okay, Phil. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
Because he has a friend who has never been stuck before.
Okay. I remember them saying something similar about the Titanic.
Yeah. Never been stuck, this
Yep.
guy.
Unsinkable.
About an hour later, he comes and gets stuck. And I like how Elliot in his email put in parentheses, I'm not shitting you, this all happened. Just to make sure that at this point, it sounds like he's making this shit.
No, this is not a Marx Brothers film.
Yeah. Long story short, a huge front end loader showed up at around 1 a.m. and pulled us all out. We pulled whatever cash we all had and paid him for his service. We made it home around 2:30 a.m., soaked, muddy, half frozen. We sat at our table and drank a couple of beers, reflecting on how dumb we were. But honestly, it ended up being one of the most memorable nights of our lives, and we made some nice Canadian friends in the process.
Hey.
Hey!
Happy ending.
Buddy.
Yeah, but there's just something. Yeah, there's something. It's a very funny image
Of
just
all
a
the
bunch
trucks.
of trucks pulling up and getting stuck. Into
If I
this,
am good at arithmetic, that's 4 trucks stuck all attached to each other.
but don't worry, we've got a friend.
We got a guy. We
Yeah.
got a guy.
Carl lives.
We got a
30
ringer.
miles away from here.
That's like if you had a baseball team. Like, we got a guy. I know we had a losing streak. We lost 3 games in a row, but we got a guy.
I know a guy
we
who
got
knows
a
a guy.
He hits a home run every swing. Got the guy. He comes in. He solves the problems. Well, thanks for writing in, Elliot, and we're going to get you a work sharp field sharpener for all your anguish in Saskatchewan. And thanks to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Canada.
Big shout out for Canada. We
Beautiful.
enjoy. We like you. My home and native land. Oh, Canada. We stand on guard for thee.
That was beautiful.
All right. That's a good way to... Let's hit that work sharp jingle one more time, Phil.
Work sharp, not so sharp moments, sharp so you don't have to be.
Getting out there, definitely going to be sick of it.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Next week, we're going to do another not so sharp moment. So if you got something that could beat Elliot's 4 trucks stuck in one muddy ditch, send it in.
Send it in.
We want to hear it. Not too long. Not too short.
Perfect length.
Do it perfect. Do it perfect. All right. Now we're on to a little bit of Meat Eater whiskey, a little bit of ethics, and we're going to talk about grip and grins. Got some surprise guests. You're going to like it. Enjoy.
I guess I grew up on an older road, a pedal to the metal.
Hey, everybody. We're in the Meat Eater studio. If you hear this jingling, it's because we're all drinking the whiskey.
You know, it wasn't long ago in Montana. You could, you couldn't drive drunk, but you could drive drinking
Oh,
Yeah, for a long time.
for a long time. There's no speed limit.
many states
The speed limit was reasonable and prudent, and you couldn't drive drunk, but you could have a drink. And it used to be fun to pick up someone at the airport with a cocktail with ice in it. And I always think when I hear this noise, I think of like taking corners in a car trying to have someone's cocktail ready for them at the airport. Because when you're driving,
Back
you
in
just
the
don't
day.
hear ice clinking in the glass.
That's the voice of Stephen Rinella, folks. And we also have Miles Nolte in the room. Miles.
I also very much remember, and fondly, the days when I'd get picked up at the airport here and someone would have a beer waiting for me in the cup holder for the ride home.
Old road soda.
It was really nice. I mean, not to say that that culture has completely died here. It's just not legal anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got after him. The reason they wrestled the state into conformity was through highway funding.
Federal highway funds, they threatened to take them away.
Yeah, they'd like, well, we're not going to give you the money unless you come in line on certain things.
Yes.
In the state of Louisiana, you could still do a drive-through liquor store. Many states, not
Yep,
just Louisiana.
Wyoming as well.
Wyoming is one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can drive through. What they do is they'll give you a full styrofoam glass of some sort of alcoholic beverage, but they put the little straw cover on the top.
That prevents you from having it.
That prevents you from having it. You'd
Right.
have to take
'Cause you're
that
like,
off.
Yeah.
I would love to have some, but I can't.
yeah.
It's all
I
plugged up.
can't get this off.
Clearly, officer,
I'd have to pull over to get this straw cover off.
this is not an open container. You see
It's-
here, it
it's-
has the lid.
It's covered. This grain alcohol slushy. that I've got. It's a big gulp size. Anyway, it's Meat Eater straight bourbon whiskey. Only drink it if you're 21 and up, and you're in and don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what state you're in.
It's kind of like the applause at the beginning of Yay. Right, Phil?
I don't think I've ever heard applause at the beginning of any of your podcasts or after. I can start adding that in post if you'd like.
Don't criticize me, Phil. Anyway, we're here to do some things. One of the things we want to do is talk about ethics. And the reason why I think whiskey could help that is maybe we have a lack of inhibitions. Because often when we're talking about these very important issues, we measure our words.
Everybody gets measured.
Yeah. You think maybe we'll just get rid of that for this next 45 minutes or so?
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land? Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today. Because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. I'm trying to think of a quote. No, that quote doesn't fit. Never mind.
You'll
Started out strong.
never know. You'll never find out.
Never know what quote it was.
All right. So the topic is grip and grins. Steve, you want to try defining that term for us?
When I think of a grip and grin, I think it's a photo. I first heard the term grip and grin from when I was in graduate school. I had a roommate named Jay Nichols, and he went on to have this very illustrious career in fishing media, fly fishing media. And we were talking one day about covers, magazine covers. And he was saying to me that when it comes to magazine covers, you just cannot beat, when it comes like sales or whatever, you cannot beat a grip and grin. And I said, like, what's a grip and grin? And it's what you think. It's like when someone holding up a fish. And in the context that he was discussing, someone holding up a fish. But it's a great term. I think it applies to hunting and fishing. In my mind, a grip and grin is a photo with the explicit purpose of saying, here I am, and here's the thing I got. And it's like not doing anything other than establishing the catcher, shooter, hunter, angler, whatever, and the thing they got. Yep. It's not like really, it's not artistic. It's just a documentation tying the person to the thing.
The two things together.
It's like, he got this.
Often called a trophy photo.
Yeah, and people take different takes. But there's all kinds of different takes on it, and some new takes on it. There's some that are goofy, but yeah, it's just like, that's what it's for.
Well, there's the screaming redneck. There's the solemn, measured hunter.
There's the in your face.
There's the in your face one.
There's I kind of regret doing it.
Yeah. There's I'm sad. There's the over dramatized sadness.
Overwhelmed by respect.
Yes. Touching it. Sometimes you would stroke it or touch it in
praying
a way.
over it.
Yeah. Sometimes you would lay on top of it.
The photographer caught you in the act of praying.
Praying over it. Yep.
With your eyes closed, so you didn't even know that they were there.
I hate when photographers sneak up on me when I
no idea
just killed a deer.
God, where'd you come from?
You weren't here the whole time.
But yeah, it's all that's my idea of a grip and grin.
Yeah.
Everybody knows when you see one.
Yeah, you know when you see it.
A guy gutting a deer is not a grip and grin.
Nope. I've been recently going around social media and people take photos that aren't gripping. They're like, that's the worst grip and grin I've ever seen.
But
you blew it.
Get down behind there and get to smiling.
But to your point, I think the grip and grin, when it became like an established genre, then people felt the need to have little spins and tweaks on it. And so they weren't getting called out on, well, that's just a grip and grin. It does nothing more than establish, as you said,
it was
the catcher and the caught. Then now there are the different angles to it to try and sort of make it a little bit more
contextualized.
Yeah.
Well, it was when people started.
It
was when people started to point out, and Ben can explain what the problem is. It was when people started to point out that there was a problem with them, that people took a new tact. But they evolve over time because the old fishing grip and grin was you hang some bloody, half rotten fish on a hook.
Or just a nail.
Yeah,
just nail it to a board.
Yes,
sharks. Nail it to a tree.
Sharks on the gaff, look at this shark.
You nail it to a tree and stand there holding your fishing pole. And that was like the Hemingway era grip and grin. Yeah, you nailed it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then grip and grins around the time that I was introduced to the term grip and grin. Around that time, it was that a proper fishing grip and grin sort of left a little ambivalence about whether the fish would be returned to the water.
It was alive or dead.
Yeah. You're kind of holding it by the water, and it left to interpretation.
Like you just removed it for a short bit.
Yeah, I don't know. He ate it. He threw it away. I don't know what the hell happened, but he was up. It was undecided at the time the photo was taken.
It looked like he was just going to talk to it and then put it back in.
Then it evolved where you dip the fish's face down in the water, and it'd be like, he's definitely letting that one go.
Yeah.
And then there's ones where they're not even out of the water, and it's like he's absolutely letting that go.
Well, I mean, I feel like you skipped a generation there. There was like the nailed to the post or nailed to the tree fish, and then there was
along
the one
with 60 of his fish,
like 80,000 fish.
But
then there was like my parents' generation where it was everyone's back at the dock.
Yes.
You're just standing like in a yard somewhere, and someone's holding a fish.
Well, some fish
it's clearly dead.
Trophy fish are held to the camera. While if you got like a mess of crappie, you don't hold them up. You lay them down on the tailgate or lay them on the dock. You line them up, much like a mess of squirrels in a hunting world. So it's a whole different deal based on the
big game, small game.
Yeah.
Same deal.
And
remember eagle claw hooks?
Oh yeah.
The snelled hook.
Yeah.
That's a couple dudes with what, 60 trout strung out on a stick? They used that image my entire life.
Absolutely, they did.
That's like classic grip and grin.
We can't forget the Rooseveltian grippy grin, the grip and grin.
The grippy grin?
Yeah, this whiskey.
Like where you put your foot up on it?
You put your foot up on it, like a show of dominance.
Yeah.
You can't do that now.
That's not reverence, that's dominance.
You can't do that now.
And maybe that's the shift that we're talking about. Like nailed to a board is definitely dominance in the fish world.
Oh, yeah.
Would that be the equivalent of the Roosevelt boot to the throat?
Probably.
I'm aware of a grip and grin. Ben's aware of this grip and grin. There's a grip and grin in existence that is a man grip and grinning with a gorilla.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
From, it's like an old Ruger, an old firearm ad. His thing is like comes with a testimonial. He's got his gorilla and he's like, by God,
the ultimate
this
game.
Couldn't have gotten it done without my
without my Ruger.
What I don't want to say. I don't know if it was Ruger. I feel like
The ultimate predator
yeah.
takes on the ultimate predator. Yeah, I mean, so they're like this thing. It's easy to pick out, but maybe hard to define. Like you know when you see it, it's kind of like has to pass the bar test. Like if you show a buddy, you know when you see it, but it can be defined in many ways, and it has over time been defined in many ways.
I could do it extremely quickly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a grip and grin. And I think it's probably the most common over the decades use of how we communicate success to each other.
Yeah.
Like I would come to you. I'm not going to come to you and show you a picture of me hiking in if I killed a bull. I'm going to show you. The grip and grin is the thing I'm showing you.
No, man. When you get something and you're like, your buddies know you're doing something, you're saying, man, you know, we're going, if I could just catch a permit. This is my third trip and I still haven't caught a permit. And your buddy's like, dude, you'll never catch a permit, right? And you go and you catch a permit. You're not going to text your buddy the minute you get a signal. You're not going to text him a picture you launching the boat.
Yeah.
It's going to be you
you
holding
holding
the
the
permit. It's like
permit.
you holding the permit. You're like, ah!
Yeah.
There lies the problem with the grip and grin, right? What we think it is not what other people think it is. And that's well documented. Now, there's different levels of that. But I think in this conversation, you come to a point where social media enters the fray. Because when I first got into the hunting industry, like I work for American Hunter Magazine and Peterson's Hunting, you couldn't not put a grip and grin on the cover. And then we started not putting grip and grins on the cover, but we still had to signify the same thing and make sure people were feeling the same way. And that turned into, you know, a skull on a pack, or, you know, a guy leaning by a fire with the skull up against a tree that had just killed a bull. Like we still had to signify the same thing. We just
Success.
Right. But we got to a point where it was cliche or was burned out that just a dude in a big buck wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
So there was one version of like we just wanted to be a little
Like
bit
you
more,
wanted to capture a moment.
yeah. Same moment, same feeling, same result, just a different depiction of that.
This is
same
where
thing.
that genre started to blend out, right? And now it's even become sort of a caricature of itself in some ways. Now you've got the classic, the wall tent lit from inside,
Yes.
with the shadow of the
Shadow.
antlers.
Yeah, and you got them
laid
leaned
out.
up against the.
You're crossing the river. Everybody's always got to be crossing the river. Some
Yeah.
photographer one day was like, that will be very dynamic if you cross the river
with
with
a head or a skull
pack.
on your back.
You're packing out your
Typically,
skull.
yeah, but the skull is wrapped up
Yes.
Right.
because it's not an actual hunting picture.
Nope.
And oftentimes, oddly, they look ready for like they have their rifle at the ready. It's like
I might need to kill
and
another
they're
one.
only carrying the antlers. They're not carrying the meat. And they're
Yeah.
at the ready like he's got a cow tag too.
Yes. Later in my career at Peterson's, I started to point that out. I'm like, listen, because they're like, well, you know, this shows, you know, what the hunt's really about. And I said, well, there's no more trophy photo in existence than a dude just carrying out the head. Where's the meat? Like,
You know,
this is doing the same thing. Like, it has the same kind of.
he's
Of
got
course it is. That's
he's
the
got
point.
some mud on his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's at the ready, like he's going to shoot another thing.
Yeah. He's only by himself. So
Looks
this is clearly
fresh as a daisy.
it's clearly his fourth trip out if he's got an elk on his back. Because he did take the meat, I'm assuming. And so
The grip and grin became popular for a reason. As you said, it sold a lot of magazines for a lot of years, right? So when that pressure emerged, because I was part of the magazine world at that time too, to do something other than grip and grins, you still had to signify that same thing without being as cliched about it. But
you
we're
were
still trying to do the same thing.
Getting away from, I want to be clear about, or I don't understand this. You mean getting away from grip and grins because they were cliche, or getting away from grip and grins because people felt that it was not the right image to put out?
I would say both.
Okay.
I would say both of those things were at play there. Some of it because we've seen this a million times, so it's played, right? It has become a cliche, and it's also not what we don't want to privilege this moment of dominance, maybe, as the ultimate goal of what we're doing. We don't want to advertise it, whether or not we admit that it is or not. We don't want to advertise.
you
it.
want to insert some level of nuance to the conversation.
Right.
Like most magazines want to vary their topics and vary their like the touch points in which they're communicating. You want to say different things with different images.
Does Fly Fisherman, what's on the cover of Fly Fisherman nowadays? Is it still a dude holding a fish?
A lot of the time, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. In Fisherman, similar.
Yep.
Yeah. North American Whitetail, very similar. It's like it's always inside the story of
No, the deer magazines don't put grips on. They put
grips.
They put fenced in bucks.
They do that too, but that that's a whole different whiskey and ethics topic right there.
Yeah.
But I think here's the deal. Like, here's the one thing we should touch on. At what point within the hunting, we have to say this, within the hunting community, at what point is one of these images in poor taste?
It's in poor taste. I'll just tell you what I think. I think it's in poor taste when the purpose of it is to incite anger and incite passions, to incite negative passions. In preparing for thinking about this, I thought about this the other day. Well, let me hold my analogy till you've better laid out what it is, what's at issue. But I think it becomes in poor taste, and the point is to piss people off.
Yeah.
But I think doesn't that come from context? Like, give me an example of someone who took a grip and grin with the intention of inciting anger. I think they took their grip and grin, hoping theoretically to remember that moment and have whatever they wanted, and then it gets leaked out and sent around the internet, and that's what incites anger.
Okay, let's just say, not that this would ever happen.
Never.
Let's just say a guy shot a little family of baboons.
That's where I was exactly going there.
Okay, and he lines them all up like a little family. Or a guy shoots a baboon, not that this would happen, and props it up in the front of his truck and puts a cigarette in its mouth and puts some sunglasses and puts a baseball cap on it. And then there he is sitting in the driver's seat, and his little baboon is sitting in the passenger seat, and that's his photo to announce to his buddies that he's very graciously rid the world of another annoying baboon.
But he's the great white hunter.
I think that is in poor taste, and I think that the purpose of the photo was to convey a level of disrespect, and malicious feelings toward his quarry.
I think there's a
valid. There's a valid example.
There's an asshole test that we can all take. Yeah. Like in the modern sense, nobody. The good and bad thing about where we are in the modern sense of social media and hunting is that there are, say there's 14 million hunters, 13 million, however you want to chalk that up. Everybody can tell a story. Everybody that's connected to the internet can go post a photo and tell their story. That's where this becomes important. It becomes these photos, these depictions become a big part of your story. So if the story you're telling is baboon with a cigarette in its mouth and sunglasses, or you standing on top of a dead giraffe, or whatever the case might be, you're putting yourself out there as that's how you're going to convey your story.
Wasn't there a person that recently had a photo of something they'd killed? A woman hunting in Scotland, I believe, had a photo of something that she'd shot. And for some reason she decided to pose with a dildo bloodied with the animal's blood, as though she had somehow sexually
it was a
violated or a sheep, like a sheep that she'd shot, not a wild sheep, but a sheep, a farm sheep.
I know.
And that was, and it served the purpose. It was like if you looked at like the definition of a grip and grin, it's sort of if someone was doing flashcards and like grip and grin, no grip and grin, and I wasn't weighing on taste. I was just like, it was binary, yes, no. I'd be like, and they showed that, I'd be like, a grip and grin.
Yes, and in very poor taste. Yeah.
And what is that? Is that conveying respect for the quarry?
No.
Is it that you're proud that you achieved? It was like the fulfillment of some desire to achieve something, or was it just that you're trying to sort of express your disrespect for?
It's surely boastful.
I think it fits into that dominance category.
No, it's like
a bloody fist dildo to me is screaming, "I dominated this."
Well, the story is like
I have dominated.
The story is, it's a joke. We're at a bachelorette party and
it's not funny.
Yeah, it's a joke, not well landed, and there's some boastfulness in that. I'm not sure
anyone that could do that. Anyone that would do that, I don't think that they look at animals the way I look at them, and I wouldn't trust anything that ever came out of their mouth.
Yeah, and this is the person who did it is a famous huntress, as it were. many followers, many hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, and remains that today. She still has sponsors. She went through this. They made T-shirts kind of mocking the controversy. And so I think all of that shows who she is and what she thinks about hunting and the quarry and the culture. I think it's pretty clear.
It betrays a level of cynicism in the culture that I find just really dark and problematic.
Yeah. But again, I mean, on social media nowadays, we're all conveying some message.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't post without the intent to convey a message.
No, of course not.
You don't.
People that don't have any message to convey aren't on social media.
That's right.
That's why I always love, this is a little bit off topic, but I always love people whose social media persona is that they don't care.
It's like,
but you do care because you're like, I know people that don't care.
Here.
they're not here.
And they really don't care. And they ain't on social media. Because they don't care.
But there's probably billions of social media accounts. They're all created because somebody is trying to signal something to someone else.
If you
it's all the
post
same.
on social media, if you write stuff, if you comment on social media, you have to admit that you care.
Yeah.
You want to engage in a dialogue. You can't have it be that I'm on social media because I don't care.
He's like, you know what I don't like? Virtue signaling. Well, not liking virtue signaling is a virtue signal in its fucking self. Good luck.
Paradox.
Yes, quite a paradox. But at this point, I have a thing here to ask a question. That's can Grip and Grins and social media be separated in the future?
You know, man, it's a great question because there's the what ought to be and what is. It should be a rock song.
I think it might
There's
be.
something.
I think it might be.
We got a lot of power these days. We can make a music video.
If there is a membrane, in my opinion, if there remains a membrane between photography and social media, it's a very, very thin membrane. And it would really only be, only the case if someone had, like if you had a really compromising photo, I would imagine that you would have it on, you would have a physical copy of the photo and you would guard that photo very closely. Because the minute you share digital images from phone to phone to phone, that membrane that exists between that image's exposure through social media dissolves.
Yeah.
Like you can't keep. We talked about the baboon case. In the baboon case, he didn't bring it to social media.
He did not.
What he did is he sent it to 25 colleagues. How thick was the membrane between those colleagues' email inboxes and social media?
Not that.
It's not. It's
Thin.
like
It was permeable.
it's like, I mean, it's become so obvious. It's like not even what we're talking about. But when there's a photo on your phone, it's seconds away.
But that's it. It's like the membrane is never thinner than it is now, and it will be in the future. When you take a photo, you're like, why did I take that photo, right? When there was no social media, like to capture a memory to share with others, right? There's limited outlets to share with others. You could print that photo out and put it in a book and show people.
Right.
Much like at hunting industry trade shows in years past, everybody would be walking around with a little flip book of all their things that they've killed or all their photos from the field.
Yeah, if you knew, if you knew that you were the last person alive on Earth,
Yep.
and you somehow just knew it, right? It was like it was just the truth, and you always would be. Would you take photos?
No, I wouldn't be wasting my time on. I'd be like, I got a lot of free time now. It's just about me. There's a show like about that, for the last man on Earth, I think. But yeah, I mean, look, now that social media exists, as you said, Steve, every photo taken is normally one very brief and simple step away from being shared with any number of people. And so when you're taking a photo, unless you're while taking it thinking, I'm never going to show this to anyone, what's the point of taking it?
Who's the politician that accidentally posted compromising photos of himself to social media?
His last name was Wiener?
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't he think he was texting
Anthony
it?
Wiener.
But
Yeah,
like
it's possible.
accidentally
He was sending dick pics to
posted it.
people.
Like, he's like, yeah, so it's
I don't
so
want to
thin there.
half that story.
The membrane's so thin there where it was like, it could be accidentally shared on social media.
Yeah.
And then it's gone.
Once it's in the cloud, it's in the ether. Like the photo can't really be separated from social media, even if you yourself intend to separate
But
the two.
let me just point out that by the tone of this conversation right now, there assumes some level of shame to grip and grins.
No.
The way we were talking about this
We're gonna get-
conversation
not
right now
me.
is the fear of thin membranes and things getting out.
No,
and
that
we
wasn't
got
the
there
question.
from grip and grins.
No, that wasn't the question. The question
No
was,
fear.
is there a difference? The question was, can you talk about grip and grins outside of talking about social media?
Yeah.
And I said,
Yep.
should be a reality, because I think, of course, you should be able to very much talk about private images. There's room for private images. Not that I'm saying that grip and grins should be private, but I'm
Right.
saying in reality, we find that there tends to be a fluidity
Yeah.
between things being taken and then being distributed.
Right, but we did get there from the conversation about grip and grins, yes?
Yes.
So there is some sense that, at least in some cases, perhaps in the case of the baboons, some grip and grins do have an associated shame to them.
No. I think what he's saying is this. Why am I talking about what I think Ben's...
We're gonna get where I got a whole list of things. We're gonna get to where I want to get to.
Never mind.
I mean, I may be putting my own spin on this because I personally do have conflict around grip and grins.
Yeah. So I think I don't assume shame at all. What I'm trying to get at with the point of like, when is an image in poor taste, and can you separate social media and these images? Is the why of taking a photo, what you like the intention of sharing it. That doesn't mean on social media, but when you start talking about sharing an image in 2019,
That's where it's going.
that's where it's going.
Even if you give it directly to someone else, as we've already established, that membrane is thin.
Yeah. And so now
I want to rephrase everything I said. And then I'm gonna shut up about it.
okay. But don't shut
If
up.
I
about
was giving advice to someone, okay, if I'm giving advice to someone, and this is grip and grins, whatever, naked photos of your spouse, I don't care. But if I was giving advice to someone, I would say that when you take a photo, when you take a digital image, and hold on to it, I would view it like this. Am I comfortable? When you take a digital image and share it with somebody, I would ask myself, am I comfortable sharing this with some broad spectrum of the world?
Yes. Yes.
Just as a piece of advice.
100% agree.
Yep.
I think if
Yep.
we really want to continue to take things like grip and grins, like take these photos,
Of like smoking baboons,
yeah,
or whatever.
Like what we'll put those out of the conversation of what the bulk of grip and grins are. Like, we use them as kind of Hunting's trading cards. Like, hey, look what I've done. It's kind of a signification of things, of accomplishments. I think we need to understand, like, offline and online, what's the context they're taken in, why are we taking them, what do we intend to do with them, all that stuff leading up to the taking of the image really defines what happens after that. Because, as you said, the thin membrane between social media gets thinner by the moment that it exists, the moment that it's exposed to anyone else. So as you spread that image around, say you send an email to 25 colleagues, the membrane gets thinner, as you amplify that image. And so when you're taking the photo,
At that point, there's not a membrane. There's a vacuum sucking your image into distribution.
it's coming. The Instagram is sucking your image. Picture that. That's a good picture. So I just wanted to make the point I'm making is, in taking these images, I think maybe the hunter with the dildo and the goat was thinking, oh, this is a funny, it'll go in the photo album of I'm hoping they were thinking, oh, go in the photo album of our bridal party here. It's going to be great. It'll be funny. We'll have a laugh at it later. Okay, great. That's fine. But as a hunter, you got to think a little deeper than that. You can't just, and she was a famous hunter at that, or some semi-famous hunter.
If you care.
Yeah. If you care, you just,
Which you should.
No, because
No,
I don't mean if you
can't
care.
say
you
that.
should care.
You
Yes.
should care.
Okay, I don't
I-
mean if you care. I don't mean if you care, because different people wage the wars in their lives in different ways. So I don't mean if you care.
I think that's proper. If you care about hunting. Now, this is maybe we can pivot to the next thing.
Yeah, because
Grip and grins have been weaponized by folks that don't want hunting to continue. Certain types of hunting, or hunting altogether.
yeah, you want to know what hunters think? Look,
Yeah.
Look at them holding up the dead animal. They don't care.
So
They're
if
just
you
proud of themselves.
So maybe if again, to your in a vacuum, if we're all three sitting in this thing. And grip and grin, social media exists, but anti-hunters don't exist. No one's ever used a grip and grin to start a controversy. Then it's a different conversation. You can say, like, you don't really have to say pejoratively, like, if you care or don't care. But given the fact that people take these things and use them against us,
I mean, that's how every hunting controversy starts.
every single one.
time.
So
It's a person with a dead thing.
So when you're taking a grip and grin in 2019, you have to do so with the knowledge that this exists.
You have to do so with the knowledge that it exists, but I believe, and I don't agree with them all, but I believe that people are doing it with the knowledge that it exists, and they're using that for different purposes.
That's right.
I don't agree with them all, but I think that there are people who do it with different purposes.
Yeah. And so this where comes like the reactive culture where I have to change my behavior based on what everybody feels or thinks. That's not.
And that's where my analogy comes in.
Yeah. Oh, you want to give it now?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I thought about this a lot because I knew we were going to talk about this.
Okay.
Imagine that you're a supporter of President Trump. You'd like to see President Trump elected in the next election. And to express your feelings about this, you put in your yard a Trump-Pence 2020 sign. Okay? Straight up, Trump-Pence 2020 sign. Someone comes to you and they say, hey, man, I appreciate that you're expressing your support for the president, but there are some people that don't like Trump. And when they drive by and they see that sign, it makes them kind of mad. And they actually get madder than they already are about President Trump. Therefore, I feel that you should take down your Trump sign. No way.
No way.
Someone's not going to do that.
Yep.
Now, the other day I saw a sign. So take that person.
Yep.
And the other day I saw a sign that said it was a Trump 2020 sign, and it said "Make liberals cry again." Okay. It was like pro-Trump, make liberals cry again. Now, is that person furthering their cause of the reelection of President Trump? And are they having a sort of honest debate? They're saying, here's what I believe in. I'm putting forth my perspective, showing my support. I'm engaging in democracy, all this kind of stuff. Or are they putting up a thing where the point is just to make people kind of mad?
Yeah.
And to have like some fun at your expense.
Yeah.
Is that furthering the campaign? Is that furthering the campaign of Trump? Or is that you just want to piss people off?
I got it's something that actually happened. Not that what your analogy has definitely happened. But this is something.
No, I read it the other day in the back of my car.
This is something. So PETA had a thing where they were sharing photos with like a logo of like animals aren't trophies. Mm-hmm. So that's what PETA was allowing, that little overlay on photos on Facebook. You could grab it and put that logo if you're a PETA supporter. Well, hunters started grabbing that and ironically putting it on their trophy photos, their grip and grins. Started ironically flooding the internet with, animals that can't be marginalized photos of their trophies. And all that did, at the end of the day, was give PETA more ammo. PETA was like, oh, look at all these asshole hunters throwing up their trophy photos of disrespect and animals. And it was easy. It was almost like PETA poked at hunters enough to get them to react. And when they reacted, PETA jumped all over that. So look at all these dickhead hunters are exactly what we said they were.
Yeah, look, there they go.
There they go again. All they want to do is brag and lay down their egos.
Well, these are both examples of, very much what you were saying earlier, Ben, virtue signaling, right? And if the goal is to further a bigger, like more nuanced conversation where two sides are able to have a debate and trying to understand each other's point of view, I don't think that's the purpose either, in either of these cases. I think that in general, if you're putting up a grip and grin, you are announcing to the world, I believe in the values of hunting and fishing. I don't believe in the values of PETA. This is who I'm all about. I will use an example from my own background in this. A long time ago, before I was married, and I was considering doing some online dating. And a friend of mine said, "You know what you need to do? In your profile picture, you need to put up a picture of you holding a dead deer,
just to cut through the bullshit.
because then you won't have to worry about like the wrong kind of women who would be offended by your lifestyle reaching out and wanting to date you."
Yeah, I get where he's coming at.
I did not agree.
Okay.
I did not agree, and that is not what I did. But I think my point is, I think the grip and grin has become one of these lines in the sand, one of these demarcations of identity, for better or worse.
Good point.
That now gives it a lot of power. Whereas maybe it was just a thing initially, like, hey, I want to show off how proud I am of this. It's not that anymore. It has a lot of cultural baggage
It's an
that has been attached to it.
It's an explicit expression of value.
Exactly, which is why I personally am conflicted about the grip and grin kind of as a genre.
Yeah, maybe we can. Maybe we should just now say like kind of what we give, or each go around and give our own kind of take on what we can do with this situation.
Miles?
Seems fraught.
Well, I mean, I think I made
Miles,
that
you
pretty
started.
clear.
Miles,
No, you
started.
just said you're conflicted.
I'm conflicted, and I will go
Isn't
further
there a grip
with
and
that.
grin of you in here right now?
Yeah, but you can't
There's
see my
one of
face.
me over there.
And
Oh, so it's just the animal being dominated by a
Dude, I'm dominating the hell out of that moose over there.
yeah. It's an animal being dominated by an anonymous figure.
oh, and the conflict is real because there are hundreds of grip and grin photos of me that exist.
Me too.
Probably
No-
on
no
magazine
question.
covers.
Yeah, there are. That happened, right? But to put this in more specific terms, I used to run a guiding and outfitting service here, and we had a social
You had
media.
to do it.
Well, here was our deal, man. We had a social media account. We were trying to bring in business, right? And on our Instagram feed, it drove me nuts. We would put up these beautiful photos of like, you know, people out enjoying themselves and like really well composed shots.
People don't give a
of
shit about
fishing.
that.
They didn't give a shit. The only engagement we got was a grip and grin photo.
That's right.
They're
man.
like, but do these boys catch fish?
But yeah, exactly. Like, oh, that's great. They have fun and all. That's a nice lunch. Oh, look at that artsy release shot. I don't give half a shit about that. Let me see that giant brown trout held way out in front of the camera. Every time we did that,
So, yeah.
our likes would triple.
This is a perfect. I think this is a
Yes.
perfect expression.
Yes.
Yes,
This is-
but that was problematic
This
for me.
is the perfect expression of the problem. The problem is within hunting and fishing, it means something, right? Within the clientele for your fishing guide service or any hunting guide service, because a lot of times I've hunted with a guide and they've said like, grip and grin, right? I need that for my portfolio. I'm like, well, I'm not really into that.
I don't really do that.
They're like,
It's
no,
not my thing.
do it for me. I'm like, okay, fine, that's fine. Just do whatever you want with it. But that's within our community. It gets more likes. It's more popular because it's a sign of success. It's a sign that you got what you came for. It's a sign that your guide specifically knows what the hell he's doing. There's a
Yep.
lot of things that it means. Outside of our world, we've already discussed what it means. It doesn't mean those things. So now we're faced with the conundrum of the duality of meaning with these things. And so there's some people that lean into the hunting community's definition of a grip and grin, that part of the duality. Like it's about the lore of hunting and the history and our storytelling and our pride. We're not shameful about hunting. Why can't we? There's some people, I'm in this camp, that lean a little bit towards like there's too much damage going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's just far too much damage that this causes for me to continue to do it and lean into the hunter side of the coin. I have to lean into the negative side, which I hate to do. It's not in my personality to be like changing my behavior based on some people getting upset. But if I look at the tangible damage that's been done by these things, it's hard for me to, when I weigh the tangible damage and I weigh what I get personally from sharing grip and grins, I can give up what I get personally just in case somebody might want to use it to damage me or hunting in the future.
But while I think that's valid, I think there's also within the community a question that comes up with grip and grins, and that's one that for me was the issue when I was running that guide service and we were figuring out what images to put up, which is that I am a passionate believer that hunting and fishing is about far more than that moment where you successfully catch or kill or dominate or fill your tag or catch your fish or whatever it is that you're out to do. And that by creating a culture of media, and the media is very much responsible for this, where all we privilege is that big giant buck or that big giant permit or me standing there holding a huge stringer of fish, we are only focusing on that end goal, and we are encouraging a whole lot of people who just want to circumvent the process and get to that end result. And I think that is not the way that I, as a person in the media or as a guide, want to paint a picture of hunting and fishing.
Yeah, but what about stuff where it's not big? What about like a 12-year-old kid with his first forky buck? Or someone with a squirrel? Is it like, are you like, this is a giant squirrel? No one cares how big squirrels are.
I'd say that's an outlier and a very different example. And that, to me, is poking fun of the genre of the grip and grin.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely
No,
it
it's
is.
not, dude. It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
We took
I would
pictures of
agree with
rabbits and squirrels before anybody even brought up the fact that there was a problem with grip and grins. We weren't goofing on grip and grins when we took pictures of squirrels when we were little kids.
Okay,
10-year-old don't
valid
goof
point.
on grip and grins.
But I think that if you have a 10-year-old kid holding a bunch of squirrels or a limit of perch,
He's grip and grinning.
he's as happy as he could possibly be.
Gripping and
there,
grinning.
there's a purity there that I will respect, but I don't think that you can make a comparison to that of the guy holding up his big giant permit being like, look
I'm
at
not
me.
comparing it. I'm saying that you're saying that grip and grins are this thing meant to talk about the biggest and the best. But that's only a small fraction of grip and grins. We took a grip and grin the other day of a yearling antelope.
Yep.
It was I wasn't being like this, despite all appearances, is a giant.
Okay, two things. One, yes, that can happen, but I still think that privileges the moment at the very end of a long process and only carves that out as the thing that we're paying attention to. But the other piece is that when we're talking about media, and when you look on social media or you look at magazine covers, you say it's only a small slice that are the big giants. I would say that in media, it is the vast majority.
Yeah, you're right. Magazine covers, sure.
Well, and I've
People don't put dinker antelope on magazine
No,
covers.
and they generally don't put it on their Instagram account either. Sometimes they do, but in general, if we're looking across the board at the people who are putting up pictures of themselves on social media and want to get attention about it.
No,
they're not
usually when they put up dinkers, like when you put up a dinker, you got to have a sort of thing that kind of explains why it's a dinker.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like
Just proud to have.
Raghorns fill the freezer, bro.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you got to be like,
exactly.
dude, people are going to be thinking, they're going to all comment about it being a dinker.
But
I need to
that-
head them off at the pass.
That's one thing that happens though when you kill a dinky animal, right? When you know that, like, if you're trying to tell people you're a good hunter, you're trying to be like, look how successful I was. If you share a photo of a forky mule deer or spike buck, you then feel like you have to explain
In some sly way.
how that came to
Right.
be. You're not like, oh, fill my tag. You're like, yo, fill my tag. It's been a tough season, and my son really wanted me to shoot this, and I don't have any hamburger.
It's going to be really delicious.
Yeah, you can't
Why
be
are you
like,
doing
man, totally bummed that,
Yeah.
that I had to put this forky up and I weighed it out and I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
That's not your caption.
You gotta, you gotta ask yourself. You gotta ask yourself why. Why is it that you have to couch those things? And the reason I think is because those grip and grins are meant to signify success. And what is success? A big animal. And so why is the epitome of a grip and grin a big animal in a cover? Is because all the things I just said, leading to the end game. And so within the hunting community, this is a problem because it is almost in essence doing what the anti-hunter wants it to do. It is pulling forward the feelings of like, we just want the biggest thing, even if that's not really what you're after. It's pulling it out. It's taking it.
That's what gets eyeballs.
Yeah.
But in what other cultural battle does one side sort of capitulate in order to like temper the criticisms of the opposing side? Meaning, let's say your whole life is that you're like an abortion rights advocate. Do the really diehard abortion rights advocates end up saying, you know what? You're right. I'm giving up on taxpayer-funded abortions and late-term abortions because that just pisses people off. No. Do people like staunch Second Amendment supporters? They're not like, I believe personally in the right to own semi-automatic firearms, but that does piss people off, so I will stop saying that and I'll just give in. No one else in any other social battle is doing this.
Maybe they're wrong. Like the slippery
Do
slope.
you think that they're going to go away? Do you think that you're going to say to you're going to be like, you know what, grip and grins, they really do piss anti-hunters off, and they turn public perception, and then for a year, no one puts up a grip and grin, and all of a sudden we realize that like everyone's now totally cool with hunting.
No. Hell no.
Absolutely not.
Hell no.
So it's just like,
But what what might happen? We might find a better way.
Fewer controversies would be fomented, and enthusiasms and the fun would be dampened. So we would live in a generally more neutered world.
I feel that when I look at this and I look at it in a realistic sense. For me, I'm not gonna, like, I've made a mistake in the past, but like, hey, maybe everybody just doesn't do it. If you do whatever you want, I don't care. As long as you can stop and say, why are you doing it? What are you doing it for? What's the end result? Because we say, out of the same sides of our mouth, we say, like, you need to be a conservationist, you need to spend money, you need to care about the future of hunting. This is part of that. Yeah. So we can't say that and then also say, don't worry about this. Do whatever you want. Screw the antis. We can't say both those things at the same time.
No, you're correct.
We've got to find a middle ground where we can say, like, care about the future of hunting, get more people to do it, speak about it in an intelligent way, tell your story in a way that matters. Do all those things, but just know that the head of the snake is this type of photo for whatever fucking reason. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. So what are we going to do with that first? My personal feeling is just my own personal feeling is that if I can just get rid of that, I can focus on other things that I can do to help hunting move forward. I can just take a picture of the meat, take a picture of the head, take a picture of whatever, just eliminate that. It's annoying to me. It's annoying to have to deal with it. So I just eliminate it and move forward with, like, all the other storylines that are important to hunting and leave this one behind because it is fraught. However, for whatever bullshit reasons, it is fraught with peril when it gets shared.
We got an email from someone some time ago pointing out how his wife felt that photos of raw meat was just completely distasteful.
Yep.
She didn't understand what the point of it was. She thought it was people trying to gross people out.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land? Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today. Because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
Yeah, if she works for like the New York Times and writes a story and then it gets picked up on CBS and then they shut down elephant hunting in fucking Zimbabwe, then maybe.
I don't think she did that.
She did do that. Sorry if it gets elevated to that. We can,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's always like a guy down the road, right?
yeah, there's always. I just
I
think
know a guy down the road who likes
I'm
to.
not a guy, but I just think
I'm
it's
sorry. I apologize for how anecdotal that was.
it's we have to elevate this to some version of what we always talk about. You talk about it, and I talk about it. Like it's part of the lexicon of hunting and fishing to want to promote it.
Remember when I gave some life advice earlier
Yeah, I remember.
about the minute you share an image, ask yourself, am I comfortable with this image being distributed?
No. You said the minute you take an image and don't erase it.
No, then I clarified.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Because I mean, right, like I take.
But I think your initial point is
Well,
actually
like,
a good one.
I've had pictures of my kids, like, I've had pictures, whatever, like, my kids were little teeny kids, and I had a picture of them all taking a bath together. If I had sent that around to a bunch of folks, right, I would have been in violation of my own rules. So I wanted to clarify that. Yes, I think you can have a photo on your phone that you're not sharing, but I wouldn't say life advice. Never take a photo that you're not comfortable with being distributed. I would say never share an image
Okay.
that you're not comfortable with it getting out.
In any form.
Yeah. In that life advice, like life advice to a hunter, I would say when putting up grip and grin images, ask yourself, what is my goal in sharing this? Is my goal in sharing this to prod, to incite anger, to stick it to them, to show them their hypocrisies? Or is it that I'm sharing an emblem of something I care about, and it's like something that means something to me personally, and I feel that this is like putting my best foot forward?
Yeah.
Or is it like, this'll show them those
Look at me with a dead thing.
This will get them.
That'll be
piss 'em
more
off.
mad.
But this, like, yes. Also, a little bit like understand unintended consequences. Understand the cultural state of being, like where we are and what these things mean, and just understand that this is now unfortunately, in my opinion, this is now a twisted up symbol.
Mm-hmm.
It's now a twisted up symbol, and just you have to understand that. And for the folks that push back on these types of things with like we should be able to do whatever we want to do, like yes, I agree. I'm not. I very staunchly feel socially conservative, like in a way that I'm not going to change what I believe because a couple people don't like it. But in this case, it is not that anymore, unfortunately. And it's just unfortunate that's the case. But that is the case. It's just not that some people just don't like it anymore.
And to your analogy earlier, if your intention is to just poke the bear and stoke the fire of people's anger, think about where that gets you in terms of your bigger goals. Is your goal to like create a broader gulf between those of us who see the value in hunting and folks who are against us? If so, I'd like to hear your argument for how that's helpful. But the point I am curious for both of your perspectives is I brought up this idea. For me, there's a split within the community that I think we should look at of whether or not this is celebrating a moment of pure joy. The kid holding up his forky buck that he just got. I get that. That to me feels pure. Or is it sort of us trying to signal like, look at me. I dominated this animal. I was so successful, and showing some level of disrespect that is inherent in the grip and grin photo.
I think that there's some of it that will just has to be anecdotal. Some people think this, some people think that. A little kid with a forky buck is different than a dude with a big giant sheep. All of that is true. And I think those moments of like, we're never really going to find one reason that these things happen. There's a bunch of pitfalls, though. One of them being that a lot of people have stopped thinking about, or have had occasion at least to stop thinking about the meaning of these images, and they're just playing the game. Social media is a game. You get points for doing things people like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-pointer is more than a 2-pointer. A grip and grin is more than a picture of a backstrap.
Yep.
Yeah, but people were taking grip and grins and sharing them way before social media.
Right, but social
It
media
wasn't like
changed
social media
everything.
created grip and grins.
No, not at all. But
Just amplified them.
All I'm saying is, like, I would say we're in an unfortunate circumstance via social media, the cultural changes that we've had, and the situation we're in. It's unfortunate. I wish we could go back to 1984 when
When you had a photo album.
When I had a photo album, I was more insular. But now we're in this situation where some people are playing the game to get, and we're in this situation, all of us, where we're in the professional media. The more followers we have, the more valuable we are. And so they're playing the same game. They're like, well, if I just kill a lot of big animals and share my grip and grins, it gets a lot of likes. I get more followers. Companies might sponsor me. I might get money. I might be famous. I might have a TV show. I might write a book. And they forget, in chasing all those things and getting all the positive points from social media, that there's a bigger meaning to these things. These things have a larger cultural meaning. They have the ability to shift things in ways no one understands, which they already have. And at the end of the day, they can stop hunting in places like British Columbia and Africa and Zimbabwe and Scotland, where that island.
Well, yeah, man.
Yeah.
That island.
Yeah, at the
quit-
highest levels of government, they were gonna rethink
Yeah.
certain hunting laws based on those grips. But those grips, one of those grips, the early grip, there was nothing wrong with it.
No.
The early grip, just the Scotland hunter, the woman that got in trouble for the dildo image, her initially got in a bunch of trouble.
Just her and a goat.
But there was things about it where and this gets really kind of weird. She was like, they traditionally hunt in these little outfits. I can't remember what they call them, special little outfits. What's the word I'm looking for?
I hope it's special little outfit because that would be
In Scotland, you hunt in a special little outfit.
A kilt.
No, it's a little suit. You wear like a little wool suit.
breeches.
Yeah, with knickers.
Tweed?
Yeah.
Tweed.
You get dressed up in a little suit
Yeah.
to go
We
hunting.
should start dressing up in little suits.
If you dig into this case, part of the gripe was there was a gripe with she had like camo on.
Yeah.
And she had her rifle accessorized in a way that, to the Scottish mind, made it feel militaristic. Even though I think it was a bolt-action rifle. But it had, like, trappings of tactical something or another. And some of the early thing was, why is she dressed up like that in this place where we traditionally hunt in little get-ups? Because people have been hunting on sheep on that island for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And there's guiding services out there. But it was that she was a Westerner. Not like she's Canadian, I think.
Yes.
But she's like not from there. She's from this country that seems a lot like America. She's got camo get up on. She's got like a bipod. It looks kind of military. And then, and she has other pictures where there's a dildo. And it tied something together in a way that you could go online and book trips with that outfit and go. But that person dressed that way, I don't know, like, everything about it. The makeup, everything, it just pissed people off. And then they're like, we're gonna take a careful look at our hunting rules, knowing that this is going on. It's like, knowing that this is going on, this has been going on for hundreds of years.
That's what I took from that. From that thing, I read an article on Fox News that was like quoting some of the government officials. We were unaware that this was going on.
That is such bullshit.
So
they've been guiding out there for hundreds of years.
I know, but that's the situation. Unfortunately,
This part of the story I never heard.
That's the situation where we are in.
It was like, hold a minute, what? What?
I was aware of the scandal on Instagram and everybody
That was
being
the
pissed
follow-up
off. I did
scandal.
not hear about this follow-up that it in fact go to changing hunting
Dude,
laws.
the camo bipod photo or whatever, that was like the Mueller report. And this is like, and then the dildo was like the Ukraine. It was like two totally separate parts of the same story.
Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I only saw the dildo photos and all that blowback on social
She'd
media.
already been.
I didn't
She'd
realize
already
that
been. No, the main hot
right.
water.
Yeah.
The government like reinvestigating and getting to the bottom of what's going on this sheep hunting island. That was just from a blonde girl, and I guarantee if it was some dude who works in like the heating and cooling industry from Texas, wouldn't happen. Some young girl, all
in tactical.
yeah. I was like, people were like, "What? Am I wrong, Ben?"
Well, I'm reading some stuff here now. Like, you're right. The Scottish Parliament weighed in on it. And somebody named Nicola Sturgeon member of the parliament says it's just totally understandable why these images from Islay of dead animals being held up as trophies is so upsetting and offensive to people. Scottish government will review the current situation and consider whether changes to the law are required. That's enough for me. Now, point being made, this is the first 2 grip and grins that were shared were as germane and normal as anything you might see. Like like you said, as the breaking news came later.
She's on some windswept cape.
Yeah. And the other one, she's taking a photo of a guy with
Cape, like a land feature.
Yeah, like it's beautiful. So before any of the dildo, like you almost can erase that.
People
from
were
the
already
conversation.
pissed.
People are already pissed. The Scottish government is reviewing a practice that has been going on for decades
Because of a grip and grin.
because of a grip and grin. Who cares if it was
But-
just a blonde
And
lady?
that review happened before
Because
the
of a
social media blow up.
widely distributed, because of a
happened because of it.
widely distributed grip and grin. There had been plenty. What do you call it? Like if you go into archive and type in Islay Island hunting, there are millions of grip and grins where they got those little get-ups on.
Yeah.
Those goofy little get-ups. I've had one of those get-ups on.
How did you feel? Was it itchy?
Cold. Hunting and snow on one of them little deals.
Yeah, man. Listen, this will remain a debate because, like I said earlier, you can either lean into like, "Hey, man, this is harming it." They're reviewing the laws on a Scottish island because a blonde lady went there and shot a goat. Remove the dildo thing.
Yep.
That's what they're doing.
But
that
you
is
can't
a
remove
reality.
The dildo thing. Like that's what got the
They were doing
notoriety.
they were doing the reviewing
Miles,
before
They were
the
doing the
dildo.
review. Okay, that was the question
The
I
dildo
asked.
thing was a follow-up.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the
It was
question I
like,
asked
told
earlier.
ya.
No, it was like, oh, by the way, anyone who had any doubt about this person,
That was a follow. Okay, that's
check
that's a
this out.
Different
And this
order of
This
operations.
will put to rest any conversation about what kind of individuals we're talking about here.
Got it.
Yep.
So
was
it
like if I-
started with a pretty standard
like,
grip and
I kill you, and it's like maybe we were in a fight. Like people are like, I don't know, maybe they're in a fight, and then they go to my house to investigate, and I got 100 dead people in my house, right? Helpless people. They're like, see,
This is the analogy you're
See?
going with right now.
that's what he's really all fight my ass. He just kills.
He's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Told you.
No inhibitions. Hey, listen, I think this is what will continue to be the conversation, man. Like, this happened. This person shared a photo of them hunting, and all of a sudden the Scottish Parliament is looking into the hunting laws. Like,
But-
that happened, and I understand.
It doesn't happen in politics. It doesn't happen in culture. Like people tend to generally stick to their guns. Not many people are like, okay,
But
and make concessions.
it's okay. Over time, this is all I'll say. Over time, grip and grins have, let's say over the last 30 years, grip and grins of goats on this island have been present over the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. Can we agree on that? Like, I don't know if that's true or not.
No, there's no way
I
it's
have
not.
no
There's no
idea.
way it's not true because they're running a business guiding.
Okay,
And
so
as Miles
it's a fair
demonstrated,
assumption.
when you're a guide,
you have
Put
to
up
take.
pictures of the shit that you catch or kill.
Let's just shorten it to the last.
so based on the law of Miles, yes, that outfitting group
Let's-
was putting up grip and grins.
So over the last, say, we'll just give it 20 years. These photos have existed.
Okay.
Somewhere in that span of time, social media was invented. It became popular.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our culture changed immensely during that time. The way we think about things and share ideas and communicate with each other changed immensely in those years. Through those years, the consistent thing was grip and grins.
Mm-hmm.
The inconsistent or ever-changing thing was our culture and the way we see that image, the way we see hunters, and the way we see hunting. That is changing. Grip and grins are consistent. At some point, the changing culture and the consistent grip and grin smack together with a lady and a goat on the island. And what happens?
Or a lady, it's all. See, this is where this conversation starts to get rich. It's often ladies. People
It's
hate
often-
to see a woman with a dead animal. The woman with the giraffe, the woman with the zebra.
Melissa Bachman.
People don't, because they're like, if it's gone so far that women, the gentlest things on the planet, the most peace-loving creatures, they've taken to dealing death,
We have poisoned our culture to the point where women will kill.
and nothing worse than a young woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then people are like, this has to stop.
We must stop
now.
this.
I didn't mind it when it was
Now.
old white dudes, but young women, no.
Because that doesn't fit our stereotype, and
Nope.
that's the only way. Anyway,
But I listen.
do you
man,
agree with what I'm saying?
I totally agree with what you're saying, and not to chip away at my own perspective here, my own point, but I have evolved. Oh, of course I have.
I don't know why I made that noise.
I've evolved.
You have?
No, not in the last
You're
hour.
very
Not in the last hour.
Very evolved.
Over time, I have evolved the types of grip and grins that I take. When I was a fur trapper, there was like a way to take trapping grip and grins. I wouldn't do that now. The risk of provocation for the pictures we would take in 1990, the risk of provocation is so high now that when I evaluated it, whatever, and like pro'd and conned it, I'd be like, dude, the cons outweigh the pros.
Yeah.
The cons outweigh the pros. So I am always like looking at this and change what I'm doing. What I'm trying not to do is I'm trying not to get way out ahead. I'm trying not to like retreat before the bad guys even show up.
Oh, I was gonna say, like the final statement I could say about this is, I think we're all, whether we know it or not, adjusting our own activities based on shifting cultures. Like we're all like, hey, I used to do this, I wouldn't do this. I used to do that, I wouldn't do that now. We're all shifting the way that we talk and speak based on what's acceptable now. That's so prevalent in our culture now, in good ways and bad. Me too.
Yeah, like me and my
others.
wife have had very spirited debates about whether or not we were going to spank.
Yeah, not each other.
Sure
the
shit, we're
children.
talking about that in 1970.
To the children, not
No. No. Yeah, about our kids. Well, in having
be
kids,
clear.
we asked ourselves, like thing that people it used to be just. I don't think like my mom and dad didn't have like a debate about it. They just spanked everybody.
Yeah.
So, it's social.
So-
Things change.
I think this argument could be boiled down to this. I am going ahead and saving myself the trouble and taking this to its logical conclusion and not doing a grip and grins. You are holding out hope that it never has to be that, and we can find some other way.
You're running it out to the end.
I'm just being like, it's not too far away. If I just go ahead and we're already putting sensitive filters over pictures of meat and dead animals. The logical 10 years from now conclusion is that they might just ban hunting from social media altogether.
But
So
I
wait,
fear
wait,
you're
wait.
I fear that there's like the risk of capitulating.
I am not capitulating because
wait.
I am sharing hunting every day, all the time, in
Am
any
I-
way.
that's
I
a good
please.
point.
Am I hearing you correctly in saying that you are drawing a line and saying you are making a claim that you will never do a grip and grin? That
I
you are
haven't.
done with grip and grin?
No, 'cause that would be
moving
foolish.
forward. Exactly.
What
would be
if you got
completely
something? What if
foolish.
you got something real big?
How are they gonna know?
If it was huge,
I said no, but I changed my mind.
How are they gonna know? How are they gonna know who killed it if I'm not sitting behind it? I can't show them a picture of my tag.
No, that'd be stupid.
Ben's like, but it's huge.
Yeah, what, guys?
I mean, guys, I said I wasn't going to do
Guys?
grip grins, but
I'm not that.
look at this thing.
I'm not. I don't want to be the douche in hunting camp that's like, I will not take a picture with that animal. No,
Yeah, exactly,
bullshit.
exactly.
I'm not that guy. What the guy I am saying is like, I'm not going to go out there and be like, this has to be part. It used to be when I was coming up.
It has to be part.
It has to be part of the experience. Like if you didn't
Okay.
take your grip and grin, it wasn't really documented.
Picture didn't happen.
Picture didn't happen. Right now, when I go out, I resist it.
Yeah.
And I'd agree.
And I'm actually with you on that
I've
one. Like,
Oh,
I will because
I've
I
said
won't
this
go hard
before.
and fast. I will not. I'm not drawing that line of sand, which is why I had to ask that question. I would not say like no,
Me either.
no more.
If somebody
But-
said, "Hey, I'll give you $100 to take your grip and grin," I'm like, "Give me that
course I
$100
would,
bucks.
yeah.
Give me that
Pay up.
$100 son.
Pay up.
$100.
Give me that $100.
Give me that yearling antelope.
That's right.
I want to get that $100.
Give me that $100. I'll take it.
But I take fewer of them than I used to.
It's such a thinly held conviction.
$100.
$100.
That's a lot of money these days. My conviction is around like the thoughtfulness around the image, and so I resist doing it for any other reason than like,
$100.
it's $100, or it tells the story a little bit better, or whatever. I just resist it being a step in the process. Like I killed it, I spend an hour taking images of it, then I cut it up.
You
I just,
resist it being obligatory.
Yeah, I just resist that.
Okay.
And I'll probably do it again, I bet. And I'll share it with everybody and be like, hey, look, I did it. And everybody will be like, fuck you for telling me not to do it. It's fine. That's all fine with me. This conversation, it leads to people thinking about it. That's the only thing that we could ever do. Like, it leads to people saying, what's the purpose of this? Why am I doing it? What's it going to mean? Could it lead to, no more grizzly bear hunting in Montana? Well, other than that, no more grizzly bear hunting in British Columbia? Like, could it lead to that? Probably not. But if I do it a certain way, it could lead to something negative, especially those of us that have, careers, quote unquote, in this industry. So that's just my stance on it. But I think that probably is, to your point, taking it to its logical conclusion and also saving myself the guff and like just saying it's not that important to me. I don't really care about it. So I'm just not going to do it because there is some world where it could turn into something that it's not. So it's not gonna do it. It's almost like the opposite of snowflakeism for me, because I'm just like, I would rather not fucking deal with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on.
One thing I thought about the other day, I was conversing with someone on social media about grips, and you get like, why'd you take a picture of it like that? And I'm like, well, because I was real happy that I got it. If I wasn't happy that I got it, I wouldn't have shot it.
You could have been, I'm sad. I feel.
Yeah, I would have been like, I'm not going to shoot.
I mean, the sad gripper grin is only a reaction to.
The sad gripper grin, it's just part of this whole.
I took a lot of them in my evolution away from grip and grins. I was like, well,
while struggling with the grip and grin.
Well,
yeah, while struggling with this.
We need some reverence.
I was like,
here.
well, what? I want to still take, because I want people to know I killed it.
But I
was kind of sad about it.
But I want to seem sad about it. So then I took like 10 or 12 douchey images of me like touching a bear and stupid things like that. And I'm like, oh, that's dumb. I don't want to do that. Maybe so I don't have to worry about whether to do it or not. I just won't do it at all. So I can get on with what I like to do, which is hunting, and not worry about it. And then I'll take pictures of the gut pile and of the dead animal.
Yeah, because that's not offensive to anyone.
Yeah, it's gut pile. Nobody sensitive images.
Phil the engineer.
Yeah, close this out, Phil.
With what?
Like, what would you do? Let's say there you are.
Say, you caught a big fish, or you shot yourself a real nice deer. What do you do?
I think now, I'd say, well, before I became kind of surrounded by people like you guys, I
hung out with you, assholes.
Yeah, I considered grip and grins like mostly kind of tacky. Mm-hmm.
Tacky.
Like from like this is from a complete outside
like shag
perspective.
Carpet.
Yeah. Where I wasn't offended by them. It didn't bring me to a point of anger, but and I guess I hadn't really thought about it until I started working here about why I felt that way.
Is that why you won't put a grip of yourself up in the studio here?
No, I don't have one. And I've caught, I have never hunted big game, but I've caught several fish, and not once did anyone think to take a picture. That's just like
you didn't catch
really.
It. Phil,
No,
you didn't
no
catch
one
it.
thought of it.
Exactly.
didn't catch
didn't
it,
happen
Phil.
then.
No one wants to hear your fishing stories.
But
Phil.
I'd say from an outside perspective, I think, because you guys, one thing we haven't talked about, I think the kind of grip and grins that draw the most anger and ire from like a certain portion of the spectrum are like the ones that come out of Africa, of like CEOs of Fortune 500 companies wearing khakis and a big hat, and they're standing next to like a big, majestic African animal.
Something that, we didn't even get into that. An animal that most people don't think of as a game animal. And they're like, hey, that's the thing from my mobile above my nursery crib. And all the Disney movies.
It was in The Lion King.
Why in the world? What?
That's
would-
the stuff.
I gotta say that there is no CEO. There's no CEO, rich guy wearing a hat, taking a photo with a lion that doesn't understand what that's gonna mean. Like, is there someone out there that's like,
there's a certain awareness that goes.
like, so at this point in our culture, just doing that is poking the bear. Like, if you're just like, I shot a Bezor ibex and I'm in Pakistan and I'm gonna share this out in the world. Just doing that, just shoot it. You understand which animals. I know that a grizzly bear, if I shot a grizzly bear, I would, if I shared a grip and grin, I know what that would be. If I shot a scimitar horn oryx in Texas and sat behind it, I know what that would be. I'm not foolish in the way that like different animals need different things.
No, when I got that big panda, man.
Yeah. He was a giant. That was
a big
man.
Yeah, I did the very
That was a
sad.
big one.
You hugged him.
I
That was
did
a gold medal
Like
panda.
I kind of propped him up and hugged him
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I was afraid of what people would think about having.
That was
shot
heartwarming, actually, the way you did that.
Oh no, it was
very
embraced.
tasteful.
Yeah, like
In
I
the
went
arm-
on- I
in
went
the
on-
arm-
I
in
went
the
on
arms
the
of the
Ellen show and talked.
I saw
about
one tear, I think. Did you
the
get
arms.
one tear?
You're like, he didn't want to mate anyways. All right, Phil, are you good?
I'm good.
We figured it out?
Yeah,
Hold
that's
it. So
fun.
where are you at right now? You just told us what you used to think. So now you love grips?
You're a grip guy?
Yeah, sure.
Come on, Phil.
Phil, if you caught a fish tomorrow.
Well, it's
let's-
hard because I've never like caught or hunted something and been like so proud that I felt like I needed to take a picture. So I've never been in your shoes before.
You felt no pride in catching any of those
Oh no,
fish.
I loved it, but it was for me. I didn't.
But
I
that
didn't.
assumes that the grip and grin is not for you, right? The point we were talking about earlier is that the initial grip and grin, the old school grip and grin, whatever you want to call it, is to capture that moment and that memory for your own edification.
And we've also built a lot of angst with everyone listening, saying like, no matter what you do, that photo will make it to the internet. So, so Phil, you got to end this, man. You're the decider. Do we do grip and grins or not?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yep.
That's it.
And they're good.
We all good with that? All right. Whiskey and ethics, round 1. Next up, baiting.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Baiting?
Yeah.
I
To the next, not the next hunting collective, like down the road sometime. We're going to talk about baiting.
You want to see someone him and haw. Wait till we do that.
Are you? You're in the middle.
I'll
of
be like, I don't know.
Yeah, you could.
Depends.
I mean, you do have corn. All right, bye.
I guess I grew up on an older road.
That's it. That's all. Another episode in the books. Thank you to Stephen, Rinella, for talking about whiskey and ethics and grip and grins. That's a topic that a lot of people have banged on me for my opinions, and so why not dive right into it? So thank you for listening to that. Before we go, Phil, we have something we have breaking news out of the THC news desk.
That's true. We put a bow on it, and then we're gonna loosen the bow
We're
one
loosening
last
the bow.
time.
Barry K. Gilbert. We put a bow earlier in the show on Barry K. Gilbert. We're going to bring it back, and it's for an important reason. Barry wrote in to our producer, Grin, after we recorded the intro to this, and he was not happy. So he expressed he wished he had not come in for the interview, and he wasn't happy with, for example, us inferring he was an anti-hunter or comparing him to anti-hunters. He wasn't happy about that. And listen, I get it. I get that we do an interview and then we do an opening segment talking about the interview, so it can seem unfair to the interviewee that they don't get to be a part of the setup. So I get that. And so my response to Barry was like, hey, listen, I get it. I didn't have any going into that podcast, I didn't have any feeling that I needed to debate him or argue. I just wanted to have a good conversation and learn about his experiences. So I'm not into there being any contention, even though there was. So I figured the best way to do that was to offer him a chance to write something that I could read here on the podcast so he could get his opinion out there one more time. And then, Phil, we can really put a bow on it, like a big bow.
Yeah. Is there anything else we can do to it to make it extra official?
We'll put it on a train, buy it a ticket.
Buy it a ticket.
Put it on a train to
One-way
Alaska.
ticket on a train to Alaska. I like it.
I like it. We've said this already, but I just spent 2 or 3 days only talking about this interview and this guy. So I'm ready to move on to something different. So before we do, we're going to read this, I guess you would call it a statement from Barry Gilbert in regards to the podcast in number 82. He says, I appreciate Meat Eater Podcast's offer to correct some misinterpretations, in my opinion, that went out. My value mindset is not anti-hunting or as an animal rights guy, nor ever was. Ethical hunters have been the core and wave of wildlife survival, conservation, and management of our populations. That is what I taught wildlife students in Utah. Many of my academic colleagues were waterfowl hunters and big ungulate hunters, but no one that I knew aspired to hunt carnivores like grizzly bears. We good there, Phil? We clear?
I think there's more.
There's more.
Okay.
So I want to emphasize that I'm against hunting grizzlies in the lower USA, no matter what Ben O'Brien and his colleagues at Meat Eater advocate with the North American model. I got heated in the interview because Ben's almost super liberal attempt to get us all together somehow. Frankly, I felt the dialogue between these production majors of the site was quite condescending toward my views. Listen to how jittery they were at my unexpected views. Ben admitted to not being as prepared on the topics I advanced, but it did not inhibit his quote-unquote something worth considering response to my long experience, both on the ground with grizzlies, but many scientific publications. It's strangely worded, but that's how it's written. Want a bit more? Please read my book, One of Us, A Biologist's Walk Among Bears, and look up Mountain Journal. I love coming to Montana. Keep it wild. Barry. So, that is Barry's statement. We're going to leave it just like that. I think I've said all I want to say on the subject. I said it during the interview. I said it in the opening of this podcast. I just want to give Barry a chance to say his piece for whatever it is, and we're going to move on to the next episode of the Hunting Collective. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Stay here too long, 'cause I can't go a week without doing wrong. Oh, without doing wrong. Without doing wrong. Oh, without doing wrong. Drinking in heaven. Sitting as the boss food starts to grow roots. I'm feeling like an old worn out pair of shoes. Oh, tell me what is it that I should do?
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.